Hey guys, and welcome back to our GMHBA Healthier at Home workout series. We are in week 3, workout number 2 of the week, and today we're going to be doing a full body strength program, okay? So with our warm up, you won't need any equipment at all, just a little bit of space. You're going to be on the ground, and we're working 2 rounds. So 2 rounds, 30 seconds on, 10 seconds off, 2 exercises, and we go through that together, okay? So movement number 1, we're going to sit ourselves up on all fours, plant the hands directly underneath the shoulders and the knees directly underneath those hips, okay? All we're doing is we are dipping the belly, dipping through the shoulder blades and looking up into the cat-cow position, and then doming through the spine, lifting up through the thoracic, getting as much arch as possible, okay? Dipping down, looking up, and hips up nice and high. All right, so we are getting ready here. Starting off with the dip of the belly, looking up, pin those shoulder blades back. All right, 30 seconds, dome the spine up towards the roof, and then coming down again, looking up. Maybe start to sync up your breath in as you reach up, exhale as you look up. So our next movement that we're going into is T rotations. Leaving your hands where they are, bring your right hand to your ear, bring your elbow down towards your hand, and then open up to the sky. Let's do this with me together here. Right hand down towards the hand, and then up towards the sky. Elbow to hand, up to the sky. Really turning through that torso, swapping sides, left hand ear, elbow to hand, and then opening up through the sky. Doing really well. Get a little bit of rotation through that spine as we work through this little bit of mobility here. Swapping side. All right, stacking those hands directly under those shoulders again, going into our cat-cows, dip with the belly, looking up, and then reach up through that spine. 30 seconds now. Let's work through this one together. Get as much range as you can through that spine. Really waving from that cat to the cow. Nicely done. All right, bringing that right hand to the ear, opening up through that chest, elbow down to hand, and then opening up to the sky. Nice little rotations as we go through. Gonna do half the time here on this side. And then final 15 seconds, we're gonna move it over to the other. Good. We've got one more round to go. Shake it off, roll it out through the shoulders if you need to. Plant those hands underneath the shoulders, knees under hips, and we're into that cat-cow. Dip and dome, reaching up. All right, final exercise. We are into our T rotations. Right hand to ear, elbow to hand, and then open up nice and tall. Little rotation through that torso and through that hip. Nice and gentle. Don't push it if you don't need to. Swapping over. Elbow to hand, elbow to sky. And almost there. So let's get into our workout right now. It is a strength-based workout. We have 5 exercise stations that we are working with, and we're working through 3 rounds. 40 seconds on, 20 seconds off, which you'll be really familiar with, and we're going to flow nicely between the 2. Movement number 1, let's get into this right away. So we're going in a sit to stand, but we're going to stagger the stance, okay? So you're going to have one foot a little bit closer in, one further out, hinge at the hips, driving on up. So we're driving through that right leg as we go into it, all right? If you're with me now, let's get into that first 40 seconds, driving on up, hips back. We're gonna go 20 seconds each side, so we're splitting this 40 seconds up. Good. Really push through that closer leg as we come to that stance and come to that standing position. All right, we're going to sit back down, flip the legs, and straight on into the next 20 seconds here. Keep those knees steady. Hinge, squeeze, and stand. Doing really well. We're taking on board those tips from the regular sits to stand. Last one. All right, so we're gonna set ourselves up into a position for our glute bridges. So feet hip width on the ground. You should be able to touch your heels. You're gonna drive belly button in, squeeze our glutes, and drive those hips on up into that glute bridge. Good, every single rep we do, we wanna maintain a lot of tension through our glutes. So really squeeze our bum cheeks together as we drive on up. Take your time here, there is no rush. We're working for the entire 40 seconds. Good, squeeze, drive, doing really, really well. Make sure that those knees stay really, really steady. Awesome work. So we're going into our dead bugs now. We're going to set ourselves up, right angles at the knees, right angles at the hips, hands by your side. Bring those shoulder blades back, and all we're doing is drawing our belly button in, maintaining tension as we tap our heels on the ground. So when you're ready, let's get into it together for 40 seconds, tapping those heels down onto the ground, one at a time. Good, and if you are noticing that your lower back starts to arch up a little bit, just reduce that range, and that is fine if you can only go halfway, but really keep that back really flat on the ground, engage to your core, light up those abs. Dead bugs here. Doing really, really well. Next movement, we're going into lateral hip adductions in a lying position. So set yourselves up Jane Fonda style, head to toe stays nice and straight, top leg is up on top, squeeze that glute, and we're going into that extension up. All right, and I don't want you to go up as high as you can. It is just working to around 60% of your maximum range through those hips, squeezing as high as you can through those glutes. Good, keeping that tightness through the glute. Almost there now. 4 seconds to go. All right, swapping sides. Now we've got to do the right side. Stack that leg on up, squeeze that glute. And we're going to go into our 40 seconds up into the air. Let's work through this one together. You should instantly feel a nice little burn through that lateral part of the hip and through that glute Slow it down if you need to. If it's getting a little bit intense, just reduce that range. Or if you want a little bit more burn, you've got that option to add in some bands and pop them around the ankles, give yourself a little bit more tension. I'm definitely feeling that right now. All right, so we're going into round number 2 here. So remember, our first movement was our staggered stance, sit to squat movement. So staggering on, right leg is what we're working through here. Hinge at the hips, drive to that right leg, standing on tall, 20 seconds per side. So we're gonna make a quick change between each legs as we go from left to right. Good, flip those legs. Making sure that that stance is comfortable for you. Remember, and just so that you can isolate through that leg that's closer in towards the chair. And that front leg is going to be a little bit more passive. All right, onto the floor. We're going into our glute bridges now. Set those feet up, hip width apart, squeeze and drive on up. Keep that belly button drawn in. As we get down to the bottom, flatten that back, squeeze those glutes and drive on up nice and tall here. Doing really well, making sure that those knees stay apart. Get a strong, strong squeeze. We are over halfway now. Drive those feet into the ground. Stay strong. Awesome work. So we're going into our dead bugs now. All right, knees at tabletop like they're resting on a chair at 90 degrees. If you need a little bit of extra support, you can pop those hands underneath your hips, all right, to pop you up a little bit. Draw that belly button in, and then going into our toe touches, tapping those feet on the ground, maintaining tension through your core throughout. And know, if you want to elevate this movement and you want to make it a little bit more challenging and you're able to do this comfortably without arching your back and you feel it through your core, you've got that option to look at the video in the top right hand corner for the advancement. Good, keep drawing in that belly button. You're doing so, so well. These are a hard exercise to get that mind muscle connection to your core. So really just practice here. Rolling over to the side for your hip abductions. All right, planting those feet, make sure from head to hips, head to toe stays really straight. Squeeze that glute and lifting on up. You're getting as much tension as you can. Really squeeze those glutes every single rep as we come down and extend back up again. If we're doing it right, we should feel that burn really lighting up through that lateral part of the glute. And maybe if you're not, start thinking about kicking that foot a little bit further back behind you. So instead of allowing that leg to go forward, you're bringing it back to really get that tush going. Almost there. All right, now onto the other side. Getting into it, make sure you're straight from head to toes and then into that movement. 40 seconds now, let's work through this one together. At the end of this second round, So maybe you're already starting to feel a little bit of a burn going on. Just hold through and let's work through this together. Slow it down if you need to. Pause if you need, if that glute's getting really, really tensioned and burning and you're feeling all that heat. All right, so we're going into our third and final round here, starting with those staggered sit to stand squats. Right leg back, left leg is in front, hinge at the hips. Let's get straight on into it. Your 40 seconds starting now. Good, remember to keep loading up through that right leg. Hips stay really square. Try not to turn those hips around as we hinge back. It's just hinging straight back into that chair. Torso tall. All right, now we're going to swap those legs over and into that stand. Core tight, torso long, squeezing that glute. We're doing really well. 10 seconds to go here. All right, going into those glute bridges now. So setting those feet up hip width apart, knees are steady, draw that belly button in, squeeze the glutes, and then lift on up nice and tall. 40 seconds here. Find a nice rhythm as you go through these movements. Squeeze and drive, come back down. Tuck and tilt, squeeze and lift. Doing really well, steady on those knees. About 10 seconds to go. Keep driving, keep squeezing. All right, into those dead bugs. Remember, you've got that option to pop those hands underneath those hips, right angles with the knees, shoulders back, tapping those heels on the ground. And let's get into our 40 seconds here, final round. Bracing through that midsection. You want to think about lighting up those lower abs really nice and tightly, drawing your belly button down towards the ground so that your lower back doesn't lift up. You're really driving it in, keeping that core set really tight and firm. All right, setting the body up straight from head to toes. Chest is open, squeeze that top leg, and then we're going into that lateral raise, side hip abduction. Squeeze and lift. Straight up. But don't get too excited now. We're not bringing that leg up as far as we can. We're just going around 60% range that we are capable of squeezing through that glute. And if you can only go halfway up of the range that I'm doing now, that is also okay. Just really squeeze on in through that top leg and through that bum as we lift on up. All right, flipping it over to the other side now, squeezing that top leg, Get it nice and tight. Make sure you're straight from head to toe and we're lifting on up. Final 40 seconds. Little bit of fire to finish you off. Straight up, straight down, maintaining tension through that glute. That's what we're after. Well done. Hopefully you're feeling a little bit of warmth and energy through that full body now, especially through those glutes today. You have just completed week 3 of the GMHBA's Healthier at Home workout series. Next week, we're going to finish it off with 2 awesome workouts to wrap us up for a 4-week program.